Hey, everybody. What is today? Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. This is Real Estate Note Investing Be the Bank broadcast brought to you by American Note Buyers. And I have my friends Jay Redding and Chris Seveney on our call today. Today, Chris has a cool case study. It's actually what I'll consider a higher end property type of case study. It's kind of like a performing loan type of deal. Actually, I don't know if it was performing or not. Chris is going to get into that and explain all that to us. And so you're going to like this one a lot. So you might want to share this broadcast to whoever you think would enjoy it. That's going to be a fun case study. Stay tuned. Good afternoon, my buddies.
What's up, Justin?
Good afternoon,
Jay.
Good afternoon, Chris.
I'm just noticing, Jay, because we're both bald here, that I'm not getting too much of a glare off my forehead today. I kind of like that.
I'm shiny. I've been outside today, so I'm shiny.
Been outside working?
Mine keeps receding. That it's going to be nice and shiny soon.
You're coming to the club, my man. You're coming to the club.
Yeah. Well, Chris, we welcome you. Open arms.
So, it's not. At least it's like not coming back here. Not losing that. So,
I tell you what, this summer has like flown by, and I can't believe my kids started school like at first or second week of August, and so it's just looking back. It's like they've been in school for a week. It's just crazy.
Oh, it's interesting. We were on a webinar yesterday, and within our fund, anybody who invests in September, their distributions start accruing the first of next month. But we're saying like, oh yeah, you invest in September, you start accruing in October, your first payment will be November 1st. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, November 1st.
Already?
Like, yeah, already? Like, whoa. So.
Oh, speaking of November, thanks for saying that. I meant to get some sort of link for everyone to go to that's listening to the replay or watching this live. There's a conference called Note Expo, NOTEXPO. I think it's noteexpo.com that you can go to and sign up for. It's one of the bigger note conferences, if not the biggest, like in-person note conference that we have in our industry for the seller finance market. And so I highly encourage you to go there if you can. I'm sure Jay will be there. It's in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, I'll be there.
And I don't think Chris is going to be there. He has scheduling conflicts.
Yeah, I have a scheduling conflict of a foreclosure that is that week that we have that I need to attend to, which was one of the case studies I was considering, but the one we end up doing tonight, I will talk about in a little bit, is a little further along, and I have more, I can talk freely about this one compared to the other one, which we still haven't gone to foreclosure yet, so I'm trying to hold off and do that another time.
So what's been going on with you, Jay? Anything new and exciting that you'd like to share with the group here? There's no one else listening but me and Chris.
Okay. All right, then. That's fine.
It's a private conversation.
All right. We've been, you and a few hundred other people. There you go. Yes, we've been buying a couple notes and doing some hypothecations, trying to get one assignment recorded that is being a pain in the rear, but we're getting there. We're getting closer.
Is it a pain in the rear because the county is giving you problems, or?
No, mainly the county is doing what they're supposed to be doing. The person who created the assignment didn't put everything in there, and I didn't catch it. So send it in. They've sent it back. I corrected it, sent it back in. So we'll see. One of those things.
Do you do that yourself?
I do.
Do you have a service?
I do.
Okay.
So as far as the recording part, I send that in as far as the recording. If it's in Indiana, if it's out of state, then we'll hire the out of state service then at that point to do it.
I've only recorded one document myself. I've always sent it out to someone else to do it.
Yeah. I used to have a Simplify account, so I used to do a lot of them myself when you could.
Sure.
But then you realize like it's missing this, it's missing that, and I'm at the point where nope, we send everything out.
Yeah.
But interestingly, because this kind of ties into recording, I'll throw this out there if
Yeah.
anyone's ever ran into this, because I ran into this issue yesterday. Is we do have a loan that is a deed of trust, and the deed of trust was recorded accidentally twice.
Oh.
And we're going to foreclosure, and the attorney's like, well, yeah, it's a problem because on paper it looks like the borrower actually owes you 2 loans, even though it's the note same reference and stuff that it's 1 loan. So I'm like, well, and we did a modification which was based off of the old recording, second recording, not the first recording. So we're trying to figure out, like, I'm like, can I just issue a satisfaction on that first recorded one to make it go away? Or like, how do we work through this? That I've never ran into that before. So
2 foreclosures.
Yeah.
so
How close were the instrument numbers? Were they 1 digit off?
no, it was 3 months off.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, there were 3 months. So one was recorded at closing, and for some reason it got recorded again like 3 months later, because I think the title company thought it didn't get recorded, so they sent it back in, or somebody's like, oh, I have this, and they sent it back in for recording.
Oh, the title company didn't even check to see if it was recorded first. That's funny. That's funny.
Wow. Keep us
Craziness, huh?
posted. Yeah, keep us posted on that. How you end up rectifying that. That would be. I'd like to know that.
Yeah, well, that's all the time we have for today. Let's tailor that for the next month.
I've got some stories for you that, well, the case study today is just going to be a very interesting one that we'll talk about. But yeah, we've got some really interesting stuff right now that like we're near fruition, that like we're in negotiations with like borrowers or whatnot. And, I don't want to speak publicly about them, till they're resolved, because kind of A, you shouldn't, but B, it's kind of a karma thing as well.
Yeah.
So that's been keeping us busy, to say the least. So.
All right. Well, you teed it up, so let's just go ahead and just slide on over to the little presentation here. And why is there we go. Let's get the right background going here. We're playing that on the audio visual guy. Chris, you have the floor. Set the stage with this beautiful home in Henderson, Nevada.
Beautiful.
Yes. I should have sent you the doorbell, by the way, picture. The doorbell on this
like
house.
A knocker?
No, it's even better. It's a red chili pepper doorbell.
Oh,
That I'm like, oh my God.
So is this the owner of Chili's? Like the franchise owner?
Yes, I wish, because they would have paid.
That's true.
So this was a house in Henderson. It was a non-performing loan that was purchased less than a year ago. And it was a UPB of just over 1.3 million on it. And the total amount owed, or total payoff, was about 1.5 million, which, as many people know, today you're primarily bidding off of payoff sometimes versus that UPB. The reinstatement was roughly 150,000, because it's like a $12,000 a month payment. And they were, I think the next due date you can go was around May of 11,300 was the P&I. Next due date was 5/1/23. So including some taxes that were paid and everything else on this that the prior lender had advanced, huge reinstatement. So we knew going in the chances of the borrower reinstating, or, we thought maybe a bankruptcy. So we might have this one a little bit longer, but it was interesting kind of how this played out. And I'll let you keep going. So that is not correct. That is a typo. I wish. That's
a hell of a deal right there.
I gotta say, you missing a zero in there?
Man, yeah. I'm gonna hire you for my sales team. You're great negotiator.
Yeah. So the purchase price was like 70 cents on the dollar, so of the total payoff. So we paid a little over $1 million for this, between call it $1 million and 1.1. I apologize. I believe is what that number should be. Yes, I wish it was 80,000. Man, then I'd have no problems right now with this property.
You wouldn't even have to look at the property at that point. You'd be like, I don't even have to look at this. Sight unseen.
Well, I actually am buying a loan, and I'm just saying digress. a property's on the market for sale right now for 400,000. It's $100,000 first. That's performing. That's at 12%. And I'm like, okay, I don't need a BPO. Like, it's got insurance. Like,
I think you're
go.
covered.
Yeah. Go ahead. We can keep the value of this. So the value is really unique where this is in Henderson. For example, and it's really what I've realized is the views in this area can really dictate pricing. There's a house just north of this, about 3 houses north, that is not as good as this house that is pending for $2 million. There's another one down the road, but it backs up to 2 main streets and has a brick wall as its back because it's a shopping center. But it's a beautiful home. It's listed for 2.4, and I'm sorry, it's sold for 1.6. So 1.6 sold, beautiful home, no view, a crappy home with a views for 2 million. So it's really weird to get values on this property, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But when we did the BPO, it was basically about a 1.6 million is what it was.
So how close is this to Las Vegas?
It's about, well, you'll see in the pictures, but it's about 15 miles, I think. Okay, there it is. Yeah, the purchase price, I'm sorry, it was 1.2. So we were about a little higher than 80 cents. That's right. Okay.
Okay, so this thing, you bought this last year. So how delinquent was it when you bought it?
So it's about 6 months delinquent.
Okay.
But it's, and again, with the rears and other things that were in, that reinstatement number was like, because the default interest rate, it kicked in as well on this thing, that bumped that interest rate, like doubled that payment during that time. So
the total legal collectible balance is 1.5 million.
Yep.
And does that also include the reinstatement amount that's inside that number? The
reinstatement number is inside that. So if they would have cut us a check for 150,000 kosher, they could be reperforming again. And this loan would have worked either way, as a reperformer if they would have paid it, or based on where we're at in the foreclosure process or what happens.
What was the coupon rate? Do you remember on this note?
I want to say it was around like 9%. It was pretty high.
And when was it originated?
It was originated in 22. It was about a year old.
Okay.
And
okay. So
borrower had pretty poor credit. The borrower owned a bunch of restaurants actually in the area. So I think they had substantial. When they bought the house, they put like 500,000 down when they bought the house as well.
Wow.
Maybe they should have kept a little bit of that to pay the monthly payments.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough,
they're in the restaurant business. They didn't think that far ahead.
Well, it's interesting because there's a story I'll tell as we get further down the road. So yeah, we purchased this in November of last year. As I mentioned, the borrower ran several restaurants in the area. They actually, when we bought it, the property was listed on the market for 1.6. Oh, so it was on the market for sale, and these pictures are from Zillow, a realtor. So we thought, okay, we pay 1.2. Basically, hey, we'll take a short payoff on this thing and make a quick few hundred grand.
Maybe in 30 days, yeah.
Yeah, and let's see where this thing went. Really, the borrower wasn't able to afford the property, and honestly, again, I'm not sure how they were able to qualify the mortgage. What was interesting is I'll find out that we heard from a relative that there's actually a Wi-Fi like internet service tower on this. It's not like one of those big cell towers, but a little one. The borrower thought they were getting like $5,000 a month for that tower from the company, but it was the agreement was for $100 a month. So I don't know how they thought 100 versus 5,000. But we'll get to it in a minute. I think I can explain why in a little bit. The loan was serviced at Madison, so we used Madison Management for this loan. I think they were confused because the borrower didn't speak English.
Okay.
And I put an asterisk there. When you're vetting servicers, it's also important to understand making sure your servicers are bilingual.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very important, especially in the western part of the country or southwest or the southeast, you know, you want to make sure that your borrowers are bilingual and also potentially have the ability to send some of these documents in Spanish.
Yeah.
You know, I know Madison can send their shock package in Spanish or English. So just little tidbit there. You know, some of these smaller servicers that people may use and stuff may not have anybody that can communicate, and communication is key.
Yep.
So the borrower through Madison was attempting to work out a loan or a loan mod with us to drop the payment down to $5,000 a month, which, you know, the taxes and insurance on this thing are combined like 2,000.
Yeah.
So a month combined. So basically it'd be
Wow.
like interest only at like 3% would not even cover the payment for what they
Wow.
were trying to accomplish.
Holy
So
cow.
unfortunately, it's like, we're sorry, we can't do something like that. So we sent the demand letter and we started the foreclosure process. So reminder, we start the foreclosure process, property's still listed on the market for sale. So we're like, okay, let's see which one comes first. Maybe,
Yeah.
you know, we'll be able to figure it out.
Chris, and you bring up a good point here. I mean, in working with NPLs, obviously we all know this. You know, you've got the carrot and the stick. Okay, is what you basically have. You keep the pressure on with the foreclosure process, and then try to work something out if you can, or you know, or if they sell the property.
Yep. So the attorney we were using, so we typically don't invest heavily in NPLs in Arizona, Nevada, California, that part of the country. So this is an attorney that I think we've used on one other occasion, but this was our first foreclosure in Nevada. And we had issues with the attorney.
Okay.
And when I mean, okay, what does that mean, Chris? You know, getting the demand letter out, it took them 4 weeks to send the demand letter.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You know, getting the, you know, in Nevada, you know, we were not going after deficiency on this. We were just straight, you know, non-judicial foreclosure.
Explain,
You know,
quickly explain what deficiency is, please.
the deficiency is any leftover balance from the foreclosure sale. You technically are still owed that money. So if I give Jay
as,
$1 million
as the borrower, right?
as the borrower, yeah.
It's a borrow, yeah.
Yep. So let's say I give Jay $1 million loan on home, and Jay cannot make those payments, and we find out, or the house sells $800,000 at foreclosure auction. Well, if Jay still owed me $1 million and it sold for $8 million, Jay still owes me $200,000 legally. Now, some states you can't go after him for that. Other states you can. In Nevada, you could, but you have to do it as a judicial foreclosure and go through the whole court system. This borrower, we did not feel had the equity or collateral or anything to go after.
Yeah.
So why waste the time and spend an extra 6 months to a year in judicial foreclosure to go after nothing?
Yeah.
Plus the expense that's going to
Exactly. It would cost a lot more.
Yeah.
So we ended up working through everything and had the foreclosure sale set for this past June. But also at that point in time, the property was under agreement for somebody to purchase it.
Oh, okay.
But this is where our attorney, yeah, there's always the but. I literally got involved and sent 4 emails to the attorney and 3 phone calls the week before the foreclosure and said, do you want us to get involved with the title company? Because the title company who was handling the closing was involved with the attorney, kind of figuring out like some of the information. I'm like, can you get us to HUD? What is the purchase price? Like, what is the information? All we know is it's sale pending. No other information. We try and reach out to both agents. None were talking to us. Like the title company, you know, basically nobody's talking to us. So we asked the attorney, like, can you help us or do nothing? Completely don't respond to my emails. Okay, nothing, no return phone calls, nothing. So I'm fuming. So what we decide to do is like, so the attorney, and what's worse is the attorney's email is like foreclosure at. There's not like Jim or John or Jane. Like, who the heck am I talking to? Like, who is on the other end, please? You don't know. So we basically are like, you know, get somebody on the phone and say, we want to push the foreclosure. What would that look like? You could push it to July. I'm like, let's push it to July to figure out what is going on. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can go to the next one.
Okay.
So we postponed the foreclosure to allow the sale go through.
Sure.
So then we find out that it was under agreement for 1.45 million. But interestingly enough, the seller's agent was related to the buyer, and the buyer's agent was related to, I'm sorry, the seller's agent was related to the seller, and the buyer's agent was related to the buyer. And each one was taking like a absurd commission, to the point of like there was like close to like $125,000 to $150,000 just in realtor commissions on this.
Oh my god!
And we're like, no, no. So that like 1.45 literally had between everything, like the net to us would have been like 1.2. It was like $250,000 of everything. And we're like, no, I'm like, we need, get us to 1.3. We're good. And they basically just are like, nope, I'm not going to do it. So we're like, okay. So buyer ends up walking because the seller, when we said 1.3, basically went dark. So like, okay. Then we had it set for reschedule for July. We bid 1.45 at auction and ended up actually taking it back. We get our own agent involved, and our agent we have right now is freaking awesome.
Good.
And she's like, yeah, I was talking to the neighbors and they were getting ready to sell because they're like, have chickens running around the house. They've got dogs. They like got exotic birds in this house. So give a little background. This house is, I think, over 6,000 square feet. It's a main house, and it's got, they call them casitas, which are 2 ADU units attached as well. So it's got this huge, which is that kind of metal roof. In the second metal roof is like this huge carport that like you can park an RV in. This house is freaking awesome. I mean, it's got the pool. It's got like that covered patio with a big ass fan, which if you know what big ass fans are, that's actually a brand. Really cool house. But the agent's like, the way it is, nobody would buy it because they're just scared off when they would go visit this thing. So you can keep going.
Okay.
So we foreclose and realize property was still occupied after foreclosure. So we file eviction because it's like unknown tenants.
Yeah.
And the attorney gets a phone call from the person living there, and they claim to be the daughter. And this is, we foreclosed in mid-July. Again, the attorney, same attorney, took them 2 weeks to file for the eviction, which could have taken 20 minutes. So this is early August, and the individual living there, which is the daughter of the owner, is like, hey, look, I'm moving out at the end of the month. Can I, can I stay till then? Now, you both are note investors. What does the end of month typically mean when somebody says that?
End of the year?
Yeah.
Okay. So
which month? End of which month?
So we said, we go back to and say, hey, look, we'll consider it if you get our attorney, if you let our agent get access to the property, because we really just want to inspect the inside of this property. Yeah. And it's, nice woman. She's like, yeah, no problem. We can meet Tuesday at 2:30. And like, cool, agent schedules stuff. Agent shows it, gets up there. My agent's like, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm here in case something happens to me, because I'm just a young single woman or whatnot. So FYI, like, here I am. And she's like, but no, she gets there like 2:25, 2:35. She's like, nobody's here. I'll hang out for like another 5 minutes. And then she gets a text actually from the person saying, hey, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'm running late. So the daughter shows up and is like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was running late coming back from school. And my agent's like, oh, what college you go to, UNLV? She's like, oh no, I'm a junior in high school. And I'm like, agent's like, what? And she's like, yeah, my father owned the property, but he's in prison, and my mother ran off, so I'm kind of, I'm living in it, and I'm moving out with my friends at the end of the month.
Oh my God.
So here I
Wow.
am sitting there like, oh my God. I'm like gonna have a sheriff go like throw out a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Which hey, we run a business, but you also need to have a heart on things.
Have a heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So
Nothing.
well, and that's where the agent walks the property and she's like, clearly she's got stuff in like the boxes all boxed up, ready to go. Stuff has already been moved out. Like, TV was off the wall, like, put on the floor for it to be moved. She's like, clearly she's moving out.
Yeah.
And if we were to evict, it probably wouldn't have happened till I probably still as of today wouldn't have had the eviction. They said it'd probably take 4 to 6 weeks. So we agree with the daughter, like, hey, yep, we'll give you to the end of the month to get out and stuff like that. And it's interesting because some people would basically be like, oh, screw you, I'm just gonna, evict and, you just got to get out by whenever that time is. But you can keep going because there's a little bit more of the story. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is the story we just sold. Keep going. What's the next one? And yeah, the unimaginable is this 17-year-old.
Okay.
And so this is the view of Vegas, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So this is from the patio.
Okay.
But what's interesting is when she moved out, she cleaned before she moved out.
Huh.
Washed all the floors, wiped everything down, like literally like a final cleaner went in there and cleaned the property.
Nice.
So, if we would have evicted her, probably would have had junk everywhere and so forth. But, she actually cleaned up the place. And, she was grateful that we gave her to that point, that time. So, so as of today, I'll give an update, but we'll go through some of these key takeaways. I already mentioned have a servicer who can speak bilingual. Key takeaways, speak to more than one listing agent when a property is listed. We had actually called the listing agent just saying, hey, like to get some information on the property and so forth. If we would have spoken to our other agent at the beginning, we probably would have changed things a little bit and had her go by the house and look at it to basically be like, oh yeah, there's exotic birds in the basement. The crawl space has chickens and, there's dogs in the backyard. So, if it's on the market, don't go by the listing agent.
Yeah. Did the 17-year-old take all of her pets with her?
I was going to say the same. That's the same thing.
Yep. All of the
Like I said,
animals.
Everything's gone. Everything. When we went and inspected it, the chickens and birds were already gone. So those were already gone. She had 2 dogs still with her. Your attorney can be a friend or foe.
True.
I mean, this one, man, they make or break you, and they can put some gray hairs on your head if you still have some hairs on your head. If you don't,
hey, I resemble that thought.
Easy. Shots fired. Shots fired.
But yeah, it's interesting because like we've used attorneys in one state, they're great. That same attorney in another state, awful. So it's, just like anything, location matters. No different than going to, just use a simple one. Go to one McDonald's versus another. One could be really good. Well, I don't know if any McDonald's is good, but you know what I'm getting at.
Whichever one has the ice cream machine that doesn't break down is good.
Exactly. Let's see. And again, your agent can make or break a deal. So we have our agent working with us right now. We are going to go through the property. We had a home inspection done on it because we're going to list the house for $2+ million is what the agent believes we can get for this house. But previously when it was 1.6 because there were birds, chickens, people were like, I don't want this. So several things we need to do. We got to replace the carpet, paint the house. There's some flooring that we're probably gonna have to replace as well. Some minor, some other fixes. The house was built in like 2000. So just consistent stuff from a house being that old.
Sure.
We're gonna take care of. Probably gonna paint the cabinets. We're gonna spend, $100,000 in this thing, most likely. But if that 100,000 can get us a house that is move-in ready, that is desirable with, I would love to have that view.
This is like the new CWS investments retreat for all the investors.
No, that's the next case study, the one in Georgia that I can't.
Oh yeah, you showed me that one.
That one is that one is crazy. The larger, little side note. When it was built, it had the largest residential pool in the state of Georgia. So we're going to do that one another time. So that one's still in the mix, but we'll share that one later. So as I mentioned, your agent can make or break. Our agent is helping us find somebody to get the pool taken care of. Painters, flooring people, really, I mean, so helpful. Working with us. Some agents basically like, yep, I don't know anybody. Go pound sand.
Well, the good agents, they have those connections.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Yep. And I meant do the right thing.
Yeah.
In this instance, to me, I'm not booting a 17-year-old, from a house who is working with you. If they're like, hey, look, yep, you can come take a look. Yep. And actually one part of the story where she's supposed to be out on September 1st, which was like the Saturday before Labor Day. She called and said, hey, I'm exhausted. I've got some stuff left. Can I go pick it up on Monday or, Labor Day or tomorrow or whatnot, and just give me an extra day or so? And we're like,
sure.
Yes, we're not doing anything on Labor Day anyways. So the agent had already gone by like that Thursday and said she's like 90% out. So she had already moved most of her stuff. So she didn't know, she wasn't lying. She was being honest. So, do the right thing.
Integrity.
Yeah.
Yep.
It matters.
Did I have anything else to add? I don't remember.
That was the last part of the last slide here.
Yeah. So right now, give an update. It's, this is 9/11. We have had the garage doors already repaired on the property. So some of the one-off stuff already getting taken care of. We've gotten the pool, service going and getting that taken care of to get the pool back up and running. I had the home inspection done last Friday, and we're getting bids from 2 contractors to put together. I put a detailed scope of work. Oh, one other thing I did do that I thought was unique, and it's it's short money that I would recommend people do if you're going to renovate a property, especially from afar. We hired one of the photographers at do you guys know what Matterport is?
Yep.
So Matterport is like, they go in and they scan the house, and it's like, online, you click it's a 360 where you click the button and you like walk around the house. We had that done, but the main reason we had it done is so we could get accurate floor plans of the house.
Yes.
So then when my agent walked through and did videos, and now I have the Matterport, I can be like, oh, I see that, I understand, and I can get a frame of reference of the house. So now for our contract, I'm like, okay, here's the dining room, and basically, I label it dining room number 1, dining room number 1. I want you to, basically refinish the floors, paint the walls white, paint the ceiling white, paint the walls, paint the trim, different color, do the base. Like, here's a scope for this room. The other room, replace the carpet, paint and replace the light fixture or whatever. So you can go room by room and just create an actual scope of work for each room, that there's no arguments later on of, well, I didn't, you said the bedroom, I thought it was this bedroom or whatever it is. I think we paid $250 for that. Another house we're looking at right now is like $400, but I mean, you can probably get it done for under $500, which $500 is a lot of money, but I mean, what's the average cost of a home? $300,000. If you're going to spend 20 grand on a house to renovate it or whatever, spend a few $100. But it also gives you an idea of the floor plan that you can look at, that basically like, oh, this kitchen wall. Oh yeah, if I knock this down, it would open up the space, and contractor may not recommend it, or you could ask, the agent or somebody also some of those questions. So yeah, that was another thing we did that I hadn't done in the past, and I think it adds a lot of value.
We like Matterport for a couple of reasons. Justin, you can go each level of the house, and it gives you the floor plan of each level and the schematics, and actually there's a little rule measure, so you can actually measure the rooms and everything in there. We utilize it from our rental standpoint. Every time we have a turnover, we don't do showings. We just do everything with Matterport, and they view the online tour, and then once we make the selection, they put the applications in beforehand, and once we make the selection, they get to do the walkthrough. So it saves us a ton of time. We do one walkthrough on any property when we have a turnover.
Well, the other thing they can do, that I was talking to a guy, because I asked him, like, hey, do you know any staging companies, because we wanted to stage a house, and he's like, no, staging companies won't talk to me because we can also virtually stage the house for you.
Yep. Yep.
And, we're basically putting them out of business. So yeah, they don't talk to us. I'm like, oh, you can do that as well. He's like, yeah, that's extra. But he said, if you need me to go back, because right now I don't want it done because we haven't painted or did what we want the house to look like. So yeah, I'm gonna
That's awesome.
maybe
I
do that
wasn't
as well.
aware of the staging thing. That's cool.
Yeah, because we had a quote for staging, which was interesting. It was 10,000 to stage.
Oh, wow.
And again, I mean, it's
That
a
seems
decent
about right.
size, but it was
It's
only
$1 million. It's $1 million.
Yeah, but what it
yeah.
was is, and I've staged in the past, usually they'll be like, okay, it's 10,000 because a lot of it is the upfront cost of moving everything in.
Mhm.
But what they wanted was 10,000, but it was good for 2 months. And then after that, every month they wanted like a $3,000-4,000 a month after that. I'm like, no, it's usually only like, usually it's like 10% per month after that, not like 30 or 40%. So we'll see.
Yeah. What are they moving for those extra months? They aren't.
I mean, they're moving. It's just the cost of the furniture that you rent there.
That's how they make their bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the purposes of you being at a distance, never being in this city to foreclose in or evict, not knowing anything, what was your strategy on finding dependable, reliable contractors and who to trust to manage this from afar? What walk us through how you knew the right person?
Well, I'm still haven't selected the right person,
Okay.
but here's a process I'm going through. The one is some agent referrals.
Okay.
And when I've spoken with them, I have told them I have a detailed scope, which I have, and I want it itemized in the sense of, hey, look, if I want a room painted, is it $200 a room, $400? Not everything is $50,000 to do all the work.
Yeah.
I said, I want an itemized scope for the things to be done. And if they say no problem, that is a good sign. If they say it's not worth my time, it's not somebody I want to deal with.
Yeah.
So, so she's got one contractor we've sent out. And then the second is actually a nationwide company that another note investor referred me to. He used them on 5 different deals. And he's like, they're very reasonable. Most people, like for me, I've used preservation companies and some of these other companies that charge you like $400 to freaking mow the lawn. And I'm like, and the person's name's Andy. I'm like, Andy, if they're like $400 to mow the lawn, he's like, no, actually, he's like, they have, they're in select areas, but he's like, they'll get quotes and they mark it up. He's like, they're up front with you. They mark it up 20%. He's like, that's there, and they will manage it for you. And he's like, they will give you that detailed scope that you want, so you can pick and choose and whatnot. So I'm just going to get 2 bids right now to see. I or a member of my team is going to go out there. We're going to, once we get the bids, one of us will go out there and walk the job with them to make sure, it's the full scope that we want, and make sure if there's anything else we want to add at that point in time, let's get it quoted at point in time. Like, okay, we included replacing 5 doors. Okay, we want 7 doors replaced. So stuff like that. But our goal is, as we sit here in early September, is I want to have this thing listed within the next 6 weeks. So plan is to get a contractor on board, get the work done over the next, call it, month. There's probably 2 weeks worth of work on the property. And then there might be some stuff that slides a little bit, but I want to have this thing listed by November 1 is my goal.
Does your real estate agent already have an eye on the type of buyer that would buy this? And is there a larger pool of them out there? Like, are there a lot of houses of this similar size? And
she does. And she said, what is really great about this house is the 2 ADUs. And what basically it can be, and that RV parking. The person who was going to buy it was a very large family of like 9, which included 2 in-laws. So they're like, both in-laws have their own house, own kitchen, own everything. Plus they were going to use the RV. He did, I don't know if he worked on cars or what he did, but he was going to use that huge garage area for something. The other nice thing is this actually backs up to public land that is huge, that everyone goes 4-wheeling on. So it's this huge, 4-wheeling component. It's not too far from, I think it's like, I forget the name of the lake, because I know it's not Lake Mead, but there's another like resort to the northeast of this that people go to as well. But no, she thinks it suits because this area, and it's very common for very large families to have, several generations live together.
Gotcha.
And she's like, it's perfect for that because they call them the casitas, which are the in-laws.
That's awesome. This was a great case study. Thanks for bringing this on. It's nice to see something that's not like a $150,000 house in Indianapolis, Indiana case study,
Well, and we can follow up, kind of
Yeah.
what I've been through, kind of because it's fresh. And then later on down the line, I can give an update of, what goes on.
So we all buy first liens, some of us buy a few, some of us buy a lot. Land contracts, contracts for deeds, note mortgages, note deed of trust, lease options, you name it. Reach out to us. There's a QR code right there, and we can take a look at what you got and see if we can buy it, and we might bring it up on the call one day. The next time we're going to meet is October 9th. I think that's correct.
Wow.
I think it's the second Wednesday in October. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
7 p.m. Getting close to scary time. I know this Friday is Friday the 13th. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Yeah. Yep.
Scary time. Let me throw that out of the way there. Thanks, Chris. I know we're going to be short on time today because you got to jump off, got things to do. Jamie couldn't be on the call today because I think he had a kid after school thing to do. So it happens. Jay's are grown up, so he doesn't have to worry about that.
I don't. Not that. Grandkids now for me.
Jamie was getting his pedicure.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right. He couldn't cancel that appointment because he canceled it last month.
That's right.
That's right. And he goes to this like really high-end place that if you don't cancel within 24 hours, they charge you. And they
charge you anyway.
Scheduled it, so
He's probably sitting back, relaxed, watching the live stream right now.
There you go. He's probably about ready to put something in the chat, so we better get done. So, Chris, thanks for sharing. That's a great case.
That was pretty awesome,
case
dude.
study. Excuse me.
All right, guys. We will see you in the next month. Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
I got to find my outro button. Here it is.